Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to welcome all of you to the March 7th, 2024 regular meeting of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners. We will begin our meeting with an invocation from Pastor Robert Hutchins, Faith and Family Baptist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Chair Wisenhunt. If you're able, please stand.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today, Lord, with thanksgiving. Lord, we are a blessed people to be in a free country. And I guess because the elections were day before yesterday, I keep thinking about the scripture, whom the Son makes free is free indeed. And Lord, we enjoy liberties in this country that many billions of people around this globe know anything about. That we can go out and not be hindered, not have to look at people holding guns and be under any type of threat if we don't vote to someone else's pleasing. And dear God, I'm thankful, dear God, that we had that privilege, and thankful that once again we've seen this process play out. And Lord, I'm thinking about today, these commissioners, Lord, they are servants of the people. They don't make a lot of money doing this. They have to have a desire to serve the people of this county. And so, Lord, they make decisions that they should not be making alone. They should not be leaning to their own understanding. They should be looking to you, the true and living God. You've taught us in your word that the beginning of wisdom is the fear of God. And I pray today we'd come before you in that type of reverence, and each one of these members and all the city, county staff here in Forsyth County would have that same attitude, that they come before you needing wisdom. Lord, we pray for our sheriff, dear God. We pray for all the deputies underneath him, all those that work in the jail, and then all those that are in the jail. Dear God, we lift them up to you. We pray they'd all be actively seeking to get in some type of rehabilitation and go back out into our society reformed. And dear God, we think about all those that are paramedics, firefighters. Lord, many of them have dangerous jobs and they need you. We think about our hospitals, the nursing homes. We could go on and on. There's people that's going to funeral homes today to discuss about arrangements for a loved one that's died. There's a lot of hurting people in this county, a lot of people in needs. And we just pray for all the towns and cities that make up Forsyth County, the mayors of each one of those, their city councils, and that, dear God, the citizens of this county would have confidence and know that their voice can be heard here at this Board of Commissioners meeting. So, dear God, we ask it all to be done today in a way that would please you, and that your Son, the Lord Jesus Christ, would get the glory, for it's in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Hutchinson. Citizens who are interested in participating in the public session portion of the meeting, you may do so remotely by calling 336-422-1200. The number again is 336-422-1200. You'll be placed on hold until the public session begins. Members of the audience who are interested in participating in the public session portion of the meeting, those of you that are here, please fill out a speaker card and return to the clerk over here, Madam Clerk Ashley Matthews. The first item on the agenda is an ordinance ordering the Forsyth County Community and Economic Development Department to remove or demolish a structure unfit for human habitation and otherwise to effectuate the purpose of the Forsyth County Minimum Housing Code. We've actually briefed this twice. Is there any other discussion? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Have a motion by Vice Chair Wisenhunt.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wisenhunt. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Raise your hand, please. Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Woodbury is online. We need to wait for her vote, please.
Very good. Commissioner Woodbury, would you vote yes or no on that, please?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll try to go slow and make sure I include you. Sorry. The next item on the agenda is a resolution acknowledging notice from the Union Cross Fire Rescue of its intent to purchase a capital property valued at over $10,000 and approving the purchase pursuant to Section 12 of the January 1st, 2021 agreement between Forsyth County and Union Cross Fire Rescue. We've also briefed that twice and actually heard from the chief. We're ready for a motion?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Is there a second? Excuse me. Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please hold up your hand, and Commissioner Woodbury, you can say yes or no.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Third item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing expansion of the scope of the use of funds approved for electrification of the motor pool fleet to include procurement of zero-emission electric landscape maintenance equipment and off-road utility vehicles. We actually discussed this in our winter work session in some detail, and is there someone like to make a motion? Motion approved by Commissioner Bessie, second by Commissioner Plyler. Any discussion? All in favor, please hold up your hand, and Commissioner Woodbury, you may say yes or no.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the meeting of February 15th, 2024. I'll make that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please hold up your hand, and Commissioner Woodbury, please say yes or no.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, do we have any calls or cards for the public session?
Mr. Chairman, we have 4 speaker cards, and we don't have any calls.
Nope. You say no calls?
No calls.
No calls. 4 speaker cards. If you call the first one, I'll just mention as a reminder, I have a timer, and I'll just ask you to keep to your remarks to about 3 minutes each, and I'll certainly let you finish your sentence and give you the high sign. So, thank you.
Our first speaker is Derek Young. Please come forward. State your name and address for the record, please.
Derek Young, 1959 North Peace Haven Road. My name is Derek Young. I'm co-founder of One Love Festival. We are an arts, music, innovation, and entrepreneurship festival that takes place here in Forsyth County. We are bringing an international visual artist to the county this year. 2024, Anjabar Matoye will be here April 1st through May the 5th here within the community. And we have different programs that we'll be doing. 2025 is our 5th year here in Forsyth County. And I'm coming today because we wanted to submit information for the special appropriations grant, and the communication that we had that was guiding us on our time and deadline just indicated the date which the grant was due. It did not have the time, so we were not able to submit it through the portal. So I'm coming today to ask the commissioners to consider the acceptance and submittal of our information. And I emailed all of commissioners the information and the document that we read and that was guiding us on our date and time of the submittal deadline. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Suzanne Eppermanis. Please come forward. State your name and address for the record, please.
Suzanne Eppermanis, and I'm at 204 Canterbury Trail in Winston-Salem. Thank you and good afternoon. My name is Suzanne Eppermanis, and I appreciate the chance to speak to Chairman Martin, Vice Chairman Wizenhut, and all the distinguished county commissioners today. I also appreciate the strong leadership of our county manager and our Director of Community and Economic Development in recommending the resolution to provide microtransit service to our residents for employment and training-related transportation, which is on your agenda for consideration today. The good news is that microtransit is already taking hold in North Carolina with 10 different public programs from Knoxville to Wilmington, including Orange and Wake counties, according to the North Carolina Department of Transportation's own 2023 study of public microtransit programs across our state. Even tiny little Wilson is now offering microtransit to its residents with very strong results. With new companies moving into that area, I imagine having a workforce with effective public transportation options for getting to work is probably an important plus. So let's follow their lead here in the City of Arts and Innovation. Let's try something innovative in transportation that improves the economic opportunities and quality of life for our citizens. Quick side note, we know that microtransit can also help us reach our goals for more affordable housing, because employees who can get to work without a car can save $5,000 a year. That's the average cost of owning a car. For someone earning minimum wage and making $15,000 a year, that's over 30% of their income that can be put toward rent instead, making their limited housing options a little more affordable. But back to training and employment. Passing this resolution today for microtransit to supplement our current WISTA system can definitely create new opportunities for job training and employment, which was the critical goal stated in the RFP. I say this based in part on a survey of WISTA bus riders conducted in 2018 by the Center for the Study of Economic Mobility at Winston-Salem State University. Their survey found that 74% of the bus riders said that being on a bus route was the deciding factor in taking a job. Nearly half of the riders surveyed also said that they had turned down higher paying jobs and missed the chance for a 20% pay raise on average because those jobs were not on a bus route. Imagine the upside to our community if workers could use microtransit to expand the jobs available to them and possibly earn a higher income. We know this grant from NCDOT is just a first step, but it is an important step to try something new that could lead to significant improvements for our residents and our community. Let's survey the folks who participate during the pilot and measure the impact of microtransit. The Center for Study of Economic Mobility has offered their survey for use as a baseline or reference, if that would be helpful. The NCDOT's own study is another valuable resource and can help us all understand the challenges and lessons learned by others in our state. Based on what we learned from the pilot, microtransit could set us on a path to plug more people into the economic network, making housing more affordable and attract new employers. All of this means higher incomes for residents and increased tax revenues for the city and county. Finally, as an economics major, an MBA, a member of Centenary United Methodist Church, the chair of Centenary's Justice and Reconciliation Ministry team, and a 35-year Forsyth County resident, I thank you, and I ask you to lead the way for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Courtney James, please come forward. State your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Courtney James, and I'm at 1922 South Martin Luther King Jr. Drive at the S.G. Atkins Building. I come here as a business entity. So I'm Courtney James with Support Systems of Forsyth County Transportation, and I'm actually a microtransit provider in your county. We provide 3 modes of transportation: employment, as well as educational, adult educational, and senior. So the senior transportation that we provide is provided through city funding as well as Piedmont Triad Regional Council funding. If you're the age of 60 and over and you do not have a wheelchair, we can provide general and medical transportation for you. We do that through ARPA funding as well as H-Block grant funding. We use the JART grant funds from the city of Winston-Salem to provide Winston-Salem and surrounding. So we go to Kernersville, Rural Hall, King, Tobaccoville. We just go surrounding. And we provide transportation for employment. This is door to door. We do this 7 days a week, and we start at 4 a.m. and we end at 11, but we do have twilight hour availability. We have ran this type of microtransit employment transportation program with Greater Winston-Salem, Inc. We've done 5 cohorts with their juniors and their seniors at Title I schools, getting them back from workability workshops, as well as internships. This last cohort, they had over 40 kids. 35 of those kids were Latino. So there was a huge gathering of children that are interested in internships around the city. They were working for Linville Real Estate. They were working for, various jobs downtown, and they enjoyed that through the Greater Winston-Salem Inc.'s Aspire program. We have also worked with GOLA CDC, Winston-Salem Foundation, Consolidated Staffing, and the community courts to offer employment transportation. We picked up at halfway houses and homeless shelters and took them as far out as Wayne's Farm in Surrey County, where there are no background checks. So someone who's been incarcerated for 30 years can get a job and they make $16 an hour working at a chicken farm. That opportunity also exists in Moxville at Breakbrush, and it is a great second chance opportunity. We operate a 10-vehicle fleet and we have 12 employees. We are grateful for the large reach in the city. Transportation is going through a crisis, and we're hoping that the county and the city can come together and maybe we can talk about the crisis that it is affecting. But we are happy about this possible partnership. We have done this before. We did it in 2022. We provided over 3,000 rides. They were subsidized in pay. This funding provides fully subsidized, and it's a pilot. So we've ran this pilot before. We provided the county with the trip logs, the numbers. We already have key personnel in place, such as community courts, Forsyth Tech. The list goes on and on. We're ready to collaborate and bring resources to Forsyth County residents who are looking for access to opportunity. So this is very powerful to take one person to another place and it translate into physical liquidity for them financially. So that's what I wanted to stand up and introduce myself to you. My husband is just left, I'm sorry, but we are a family business. We've been operating since 2019. We are a direct product of SG Atkins Center, Women's Business Center, and the Small Business Center here in Forsyth County. We are a testament that small business technical assistance is working.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our last speaker is Alex Nelson. Please come forward. State your name and address for the record, please.
I'm getting older. It takes me a few minutes. So my name is Alex Nelson, retired Command Sergeant Major from the military. 6775 Ronaldo Road is where my business is located at. And may I continue?
Yes, please.
It's an honor to be able to be standing before you today. I want to mention my failure. I don't want to mention your action today. Is that all right? 2007, I had a real good friend that was deployed with me from North Carolina. Everyone knew what happened in 2008. When we got back from deployment to Iraq, they had lost their home, lost his family, was injured. He was at a place in life, and I wasn't there to help him. And 2 weeks ago, he took his life. I'd received a phone call 3 weeks ago. It went to voicemail. I wasn't there to pick it up. I failed. Ladies and gentlemen, we lose 23. Excuse me a second. I might push that 3-minute line, but I'll hurry. We lose 23 veterans a day to suicide. And a lot of it is because some of us don't get there in time. So let me talk about Veterans Cup for a second. Veterans Cup is an organization where we go around and we have developed coffees in a lot of different places. It's originated here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. If I'm wrong, please somebody correct me on that. But you see, we take off our Republican capes and our Democrat capes and our Baptists and Methodists, and we take off those capes and all those things that weigh us down as society, and we come together in one voice. This group here, ladies and gentlemen, if I may, you see, this body here is a representation of this county and its citizens, and it answered the call. I came last year, and I asked for us to gather together and all the partisanship, because my young friend and 23 a day like him. He didn't fill out a card and say, I'm going to take my life today and I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat or I'm an independent. He's an American with red, white, and blue and the blood running in his veins and the great air that God gave us to put in our bodies, and just asking for help. He didn't fill out that card, did he? And I want to tell you, I thank you for this board that didn't fill out that card either. You see, ladies and gentlemen, this group here came to trivia night for the Veterans Cup. Trivia night for the troops is what I call it, but it's Veterans Cup. And they got a table and they came and we had a lot of people there. I think, well, I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of people that came there. Who was there with us?
Yeah, those folks down there.
Was it fun? I hope. News Channel 12, WXI, was there last year. We had a lot of other special guests that was there in the audience this year. We have Mr. Kevin Conley from Fox 8 is going to be one of the special guest judges, and we have a general flying in from the state of Texas. He's going to be a special guest judge, and WTOB is going to be the Richard Childress Racing. I went over my time. I'll hurry up, I promise. But this is important. See, in this partisan environment, a lot of people aren't in the same room with each other. Am I lying? We're getting together for a good cause, doing good things for good people. Now, this group here took first place in the trivia night for, I'm turning around here, trivia night for the Troops Veterans Cup, the first Veterans Cup. And their name is on it. And last year they went by the name Forsyth County Trivia Troop. That was the name that y'all came up with. That's okay. That's good. Bipartisan County Commissioner team, you set the example for what America should be. You set the example for what all bodies supporting their constituents should be. I want to thank you for answering the call and doing something I didn't do 3 weeks ago. The next RCR, I've got it right here. May I hand this up or just wait for it here?
Well, actually, both of them, our member, trivia member club, the troop is part of the down there, the troop.
Usually don't get this emotional, but it's a proud time. It's a proud time for us here in Winston-Salem. I hope it's a proud time for you, because it is for me, and I would like you guys to keep this cup. Okay, April 20th is the next date for the second Veterans Cup Trivia Night. Richard Childress Racing, April the 20th. And I challenge all the other boards in the surrounding area, because we had people from, seven different counties that was there, if you remember? I'd like more. Because if you're going to give your money to something, let's do good things for good people for good reasons. Thank you, and I apologize for going over my time.
You're good. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. You do need to accept that.
You got to bring this with you when you.
That means we have to relinquish it if we lose. Huh? I guess we have to.
As long as Gordon is there, we're okay.
I've already checked, he cannot be there.
Oh.
That's why I'm a little worried. Thank you for a wonderful cause, and we appreciate you bringing us the trophy and great presentation. Thank you. All righty. Mr. County Manager, please continue with the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, board members and staff and guests. We have some business items for consideration this afternoon. We have, as you mentioned, reviewed them in briefing sessions and have hopefully answered all the questions, so we should get through it fairly quickly. And I'm going to actually collapse a few in there because I think that'll be appropriate as long as the clerk and attorney are okay with it. All right, a couple of budget and finance items. Item 6 is a resolution approving a revision to the 2023-2024 Juvenile Crime Prevention Council funding plan. Really just a correction to the funding amount. It was mislabeled in the previous action, so it adjusted by $10 for Triad Restorative Justice.
Move to approve.
It's approved by Commissioner McDaniel.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand, and Commissioner Woodbury, please say yes or no.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, agenda item 7 is an amendment to the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget ordinance. It appropriates fund balance to return a portion of the Medicaid hold harmless funds paid to Forsyth County in fiscal year 2023. Our budget and management director, Kyle Wolf, reviewed this. This would approve a payment back to the state for an overpayment of hold harmless funds of $317,214.28.
The motion?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion?
7.
It is item 7. 6 was a revision to the juvenile crime prevention.
He is reviewing the hard copy. Is the hard copy in front of him from last week?
That's the hard copies that are in front of us.
Last week's or this week?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's let the clerk.
We know it.
Okay, we all know what we're voting on. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand, and Commissioner Woodbury say yes or no. Commissioner Woodbury, are you there?
Sorry, yes.
No problem. This is a yes or no on our amendment to return actually an overpayment of Medicaid hold harmless funds. Yeah, okay, thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Sorry.
All right.
And Mr. County Manager, on all the groups that we're dealing with on, it'll be the ARPA funding ones. We'll get to the next one.
I will.
Sorry.
I think we're on the same page.
Yes.
We do have some grant matter. Item 8 is a resolution authorizing execution of the necessary documents to apply for and accept, if awarded, a Golden Leaf Foundation grant opportunity through its site program for the design, engineering, and development of an economic development site at Tanglewood. There is an opportunity through that program for a $1.5 million grant for design, engineering, clearance, and grading of a site there at the Tanglewood Business Park. And Commissioner Bessie, we did reach out to the Village of Clemens and did let them know that we were moving forward with that.
I appreciate the courtesy and dedication to that.
Motion approved by Commissioner Plyler. Is there a second? Second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. And Commissioner Woodbury, just yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Now we can, on the ARPA funding, I think there are several items here with a number of our recipients that essentially are not asking for more money, but they're allowing a provision that the Department of the Treasury has offered that they can actually spend it over a longer period of time. So each of these organizations have submitted a proposal to extend and what they will do with the same money, spending the same money over a longer period of time. And they're all similar. We've all looked at them. I was actually thinking we could take all of those with one action unless anyone objects.
Yeah, I think you can take items 9 through 16 in one item just to approve those contracts if it's satisfactory. Our county attorney, good. All right. Do you want me to read the names of the recipients?
That'd be great, just the organizations.
All right, yep. So item 9 is an agreement with Experiment and Self-Reliance Incorporated and S.G. Atkins Community Development Corporation to expand the Small Business Individual Development Account Program with American Rescue Plan Act funds. Item 10 is an agreement with Forsyth County and the Centers for Exceptional Children to fund its infant and toddler program with ARPA funds. Item 11 is an agreement with Work Family Resource Center Incorporated to support new licensed family child care homes with American Rescue Plan Act funds. Item 12 is an agreement with the Arts Council to support arts programming and workforce development for the local arts and cultural sectors. Item 13 is an agreement with Forsyth Technical Community College to purchase nursing software with American Rescue Plan Act funds. Item 14 is an agreement with Smart Start of Forsyth County to support Pre-K Priority Coalition in Forsyth County to move that program forward. Item 15 is the Children's Home Society of North Carolina to open a Child First program. And then the final one, item 16, is an agreement with Addiction Recovery Care Association Incorporated, better known as ARCA, for medication-assisted treatment for opioid use disorder.
Move approval.
Motion to approval by Vice Chair Wizenhut.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion?
Yes, go ahead.
Just wanted, I believe I've confirmed this with staff, but I just want to confirm publicly that staff will continue to monitor the expenditure and the plans, and will alert us before the end of this calendar year if it appears that there will be any of these extensions that have unanticipated difficulty moving forward in a timely basis.
We will, and we do have a very robust effort around the compliance and what have you.
Thank you very much.
All righty. Further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. And Commissioner Woodbury, yes or no?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, we have some contractual matters. Item 17 is a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement between Forsyth County and SCIAPS Incorporated for the purchase of a lead and soil and HUD EPA lead paint analyzer for the Forsyth County Department of Public Health. This essentially authorizes the sole source purchase of that in an amount not to exceed $30,425.
Motion approved by Commissioner Platter.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. And Commissioner Woodbury, yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
All right, item 18 is a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement between Forsyth County and Support Systems of Forsyth County Transportation, LLC, to provide a microtransit service to county residents for employment-related transportation. You heard from some interested folks about that. It will essentially use ROAP, or Rural Operating Assistance Program money that's provided through the state in an amount not to exceed $90,000, basically to fund direct trips scheduled by the rider.
Motion approved by Commissioner Platter.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. And Commissioner Woodbury, please yes or no.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all.
All right. Very good. Items 19 and 20, I believe you can take together. They are both for the resolution awarding and authorizing a contract for the purchase of 2 Chevrolet 2500 pickup trucks, and then 2 Chevrolet Equinox and 2 Chevrolet Colorado pickup trucks, all being purchased under the North Carolina Sheriff's Association contract in an amount, the first item not to exceed $107,664, and the second item $121,792.
Have a motion approved by Commissioner Platter, second by Commissioner Linville. And from any discussion, I have one question, there may be others. Actually, I was thinking about this afterwards in our morning, our winter work session, and I remember Minor Barnett mentioning about Chevrolet Equinoxes are being the electric ones. It's like a new version, new battery, new whatever. And I was, we're hoping to kind of get into that, and I actually had the thought that we could postpone these two and maybe we could get the electric Equinoxes. They will not be the same price, obviously. They won't be, because apparently they're not going to be handled on our, the sheriff's office purchasing contract. I don't know if that's a major issue, but it did occur to me, it's supposed to be ready in December. It's supposed to be released, if I remember that right. Kirby may know an answer to that.
Yeah, come on, Kirby.
I'm not sure I know the answer to your specific question, and I apologize if I don't answer it. I think our recommendation is to move forward with the Equinoxes as presented, as they are planned replacements within the current motor vehicle replacement program. And then the electrification of the fleet, could be potentially a future item if the board wanted it to be, but we do have some pretty immediate needs in the DSS motor pool that these vehicles would replace, and we could receive them by May if they're ordered now.
I get that. I guess I was thinking that we could probably get 6 more months out of what we had. This was probably what I was thinking. But it also may be that if we could, we would get a better price and buy more when we actually make our first electrification purchase. The Chevy Equinox stuck in my head from Minor Barnett's presentation as being the next one, the new and better model. Anyway, all right. Any other discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. And Commissioner Woodbury, yes or no?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous. Lee, excuse me.
We have one property matter. Item 21 is a resolution authorizing the grant and execution of a permanent utility easement to the North Carolina Department of Transportation to construct and access utility infrastructure across Forsyth County on real property located at 6490 Shallowford Road. This is a .001 acre piece of property, and Kirby has done a magnificent job of negotiating $300 for this little tiny piece of property, and it will provide for a public transportation improvement there at the Louisville Public Library. So,
Motion approved by Commissioner Plyler,
Second.
second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please hold up your hand. And Commissioner Woodbury, yes or no?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
all right, last item, we just have two reports. You've got the January 2024 contribution-based benefit cap report and the second quarter human resources report for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Motion to approve, to accept the reports. Commissioner Plyler, second by Commissioner Limble. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. And Commissioner Woodbury, yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously, and we will adjourn now until we can move right into our briefing session. Yes, so?
We can either take a recess or I can check. I bet you they'll be ready in 20 seconds.
20 seconds would be great.
They're good if you're good.
All right, that's great. Welcome to everyone. Now we'll begin our first briefing for the March 21st, 2024 meeting. And at this meeting, we have no discussion items, and we will have just a highlight of each of the items, and then we will have an in-depth review next Thursday. And I'll turn the meeting over to the county manager.
All right. Yeah, so for the remainder of the afternoon, we do have the first review of these items from March 21st meeting. We do have several items for closed session. And so at the appropriate time, I'll read that. We do have 3 items that require a public hearing for the March 21st meeting, and so we're going to review those. Those are all items from Planning and Development, and Kirk Erickson with Planning and Development is here to review them. Item, if you want me to, while you're pulling it up, I'll tell you what, I'm going to turn it over since you got it. I'll turn it over to Eric.
All right. Thank you, County Manager Watts. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the Board of Commissioners. The first item is zoning case F-1637. This is a request of Jerry and Patty Stoltz. The site is approximately 20 acres at the northwest and southwest intersections of Shore Road and Griffin Road in the Tobaccoville area. The request is a special use limited rezoning. If I'm going to need to move this thing off my slide here, from AG to GBL, General Business Limited. Okay, there we go. This is the countywide vicinity map from the Legacy Growth Management Area Plan showing the site is in GMA 3, which is the suburban neighborhoods area. This is the property boundary map, and the northern part of this property, which is north of Griffin Road, is in the Village of Tobaccoville's jurisdiction. The southern half of this request is in unincorporated Forsyth County's jurisdiction. Just want to point out, this is at the intersection of Westinghouse and Shore Road with Highway 52, and the HBS across Shore Road from this site you all approved in 2022 for a Love's Travel Center and Truck Stop. This is an aerial showing the subject property. Again, you can see the property is largely undeveloped currently with farmland and stands of trees. This is the area plan recommendation map showing what the Tobaccoville area plan recommends. This plan was adopted by the county in 2013 and identifies the site for mixed-use development. Just going to go through some pictures showing what's going on the subject property. This is looking north along Shore Road. The northern subject property is to the left. For some reason, the slideshow appears to have bogged down. Let me try this. Looking north from Griffin Road at the northern subject property. Looking west and east along Griffin Road. Again, these are more shots looking west and east along Griffin Road. And this shot is looking southwest from the intersection of Shore Road and Griffin Road. And the subject property is in the foreground. This is looking south from the intersection of Shore and Griffin, and the subject property is to the right, and you can see the Love's Travel Center canopy under construction currently. This is looking east and west along Griffin Road, and I believe this is the last one looking south from Griffin Road into the southern subject property. And again, staff did take a lot of photos because this is a large property. The petitioners requested a variety of uses. I'm not going to read through all of these at this point, but just generally, they had several multifamily residential uses, several retail and wholesale trade uses, such as restaurants with drive-throughs or microbreweries, things of that nature. They're also requesting some business and personal services like banking and personal services and recreational facilities, as well as institutional and public uses. Legacy 2030 and the area plan recommend commercial and office development for the properties adjacent to US 52, including the northern subject property. And these plans recommend a variety of residential types for the parcels west of Shore Road and south of Griffin Road, including the southern subject property. For the subject properties, the plan does recommend an interconnected, comprehensively designed development that's complementary to existing uses in the area, with a density of less than 8 units per acre residentially. Just in summary, the requested uses are generally consistent with what's in the area plan and Legacy 2030. However, without a site-specific development plan, the specific request is inconsistent with the comprehensive design recommendations of the area. Therefore, the request is incompatible with the existing single-family neighborhood and the character of the area, as it would allow high-intensity commercial encroachment into a rural residential area. This was heard by the Planning Board at their February 8th meeting. There were numerous speakers who spoke in opposition during the public hearing. Some of the comments centered on the incompatibility of certain uses in the residents' opinion, property values, the speculative nature of the limited use request that does not include a site-specific plan of development. There were concerns related to noise, traffic, and also the proposed multifamily uses. Following the public hearing and this discussion, the Planning Board did vote to recommend denial to the commissioners by a 6-3 vote. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Yeah, I kind of have the one question about the GBL label itself.
Yes, sir.
It just, what I know, there's an alphabet soup, and I don't know much about the details, although that description seemed to be everything but this kitchen sink. And obviously, some of the decision was incompatibility. What's the one that struck me the most odd is having multifamily residential mixed in with basically light business, commercial on the same site. Is that?
That's correct, Chairman Martin, and I'll just tell you from the staff perspective and the area plan perspective, that's something that both the staff and the area plan were calling for, and the reason we did that was we were encouraging kind of a transition area between the fast food with drive-throughs and the gas stations on the one end to the existing large lot single-family homes. So the area plan and general kind of planning practice call for putting townhomes or more intense residential as a buffer zone between detached single-family homes and intense business uses.
Yeah, it would just seem that you would have X number of acres for, proposed for the housing, and it would be indicated with a particular zoning label, and then the other parcel would have a different zoning label. And I guess I'm surprised that all that could have been, or could be, lumped into a GBL, into one label. I guess that's what my issues are, more of a technical labeling issue.
And the petitioner chose the general business district because it does allow the broadest variety of uses of any quote-unquote commercial district. It allows all the way from light industrial to multifamily residential with commercial and office in between. So it's kind of the jack of all trades district.
Any questions, by the way?
My understanding, based on what you've told us, is that the staff recommended denial in part because there was no surety that what is designed to be a buffer between the more intense business uses and the adjacent single-family area would consist of the multifamily housing.
That's correct, Commissioner Bessie. Again, the uses in and of themselves could be laid out in a logical manner, and staff didn't have concerns with the uses, but as proposed, they could locate all the gas stations and fast food restaurants right next to the single family, and if they wanted to put the townhomes across from the Love's Travel Stop, or they could make the whole thing basically an out parcel development of just all drive-through restaurants and banks and things of that nature. So the planning board majority opinion was basically there just wasn't enough information to recommend approval. It wasn't so much that the uses couldn't be comprehensively designed. It was just the current proposal didn't affect that.
And so the typical appropriate use of an L classification would be a situation where all the proposed uses are okay, but it doesn't really matter where they go on the property.
Correct.
In a situation where it does really matter which uses go on what part of the property, that would more typically be an S site plan required.
That's the staff and the board's opinion.
Okay, thank you.
That was good clarification. Thank you. Other questions? All right, thanks.
All right, well, I'll let the county manager read me in while I get the next one set up.
The next one is a public hearing on a zoning petition of Jerry Stoltz and a business LLC as listed there from RS9 to LIS. It is F1638. So,
All right, this site is actually directly across the street to the east of the previous site that you all saw. Again, here's the Legacy Growth Management Area map showing that this is in the Suburban Neighborhoods GMA3 area. This is a location map, the HBS on the map again being the Love's Travel Stop that was approved a couple years ago by this board, and the yellow parcel wrapping around that Love site and having a lot of frontage on Highway 52 and extending further south almost to the Winston-Salem city limits. This is an aerial showing the subject property. There's significant topography and streams that are running through the middle of the site that the site plan has had to contend with. And again, the site is largely undeveloped, save for a couple of single-family homes. This is the area plan, again, the 2013 Tobaccoville area plan, and this site is identified in what they call an industrial opportunity area. So this was called out by the area plan for economic development potential, given the large lotting pattern in a single ownership and the proximity to US 52. We'll go through some site plan pictures. This is Cap Farm Road, which is essentially the path that the new industrial proposed street will follow that we'll get to on the site plan. This is looking northeast from Shore Road into the subject property. This is looking north and south along Shore Road. Again, you can see the Love's Travel Stop and its construction. Looking north and south, again along Shore Road from a different vantage point. Looking east from Shore Road into the subject property. And this is the site plan that I alluded to earlier. I'll use my cursor here to point out the path of the road. Again, this follows the Cap Farm Road that we saw as the gravel private road a few slides ago. They are proposing 7 lots, and as this is a 2-phase zoning request, this first phase would basically have some design conditions, use conditions, things of that nature, and show the lotting pattern. But each individual site would have to be designed with building and parking locations once an industrial user was kind of identified or matched to each of the sites. Those second phase site plans or final development plans, as we call them, would be approved at the planning board level, but they would have to adhere to any conditions that you all imposed as part of this adoption process. In analysis, Legacy 2030 does recognize the scarcity of good industrial land and seeks to promote the wisest economic use of limited resources. As you all are likely aware, we're the 60th largest land area county, yet we're the 4th highest population in North Carolina. So we have quite a difficult time in finding good sites for economic development here. The plan recommends following the recommendations of area plans and other development guides when considering industrial sites. The proposed development also recognizes the adjacent residential zoning and the visual impact of sites from US 52 and includes provisions for the enhanced screening of the proposed industrial buildings. In summary, this request is consistent with the comprehensive design goals and the industrial use recommendations of the area plan and the legacy plan, and easy access to US 52, the Northern Beltway, and utilities make this site well suited for economic industrial development. This was heard by the Planning Board at the February 8th public hearing. There were 4 speakers in opposition. Their concerns centered on traffic, environmental issues, the historic home on the property, some of the uses, and property values in the surrounding area. Following the public hearing and discussion, the Planning Board did vote unanimously to recommend this to you all. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions?
If you could go back to the site plan map, please.
Yes, sir.
I can't read the fine print from the screen, but it appears to show, would that be a stream buffer along the streams that run through the site?
Yes, sir. I believe the dimension on that is, looks like that's probably about an 100-foot or so stream buffer.
And the other green that is close to the streams at 3 points, what's that?
Those are floodplain areas.
Floodplain areas, and so those would be areas that they would not be building in, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
And just for full disclosure, Commissioners, this lot right here would be fairly difficult to access because from this street here, they would have to cross the creek, but the other lots should be readily developable.
Those are pretty steep lots.
Yes, sir.
Well, the ones next to 52, particularly.
If I may ask, in that area, what was the proposed use for the area that's in it's floodplain, but then you said that they wouldn't be able to cross over. So what are they planning to utilize that space for?
Well, I guess I should back up. It's not that they wouldn't be able to cross over, but they would have to receive a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers to cross that creek, which is a much more time-intensive and costly process. So the only point I was trying to make is that would probably be the last lot developed in the subdivision.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. I was a little confused.
What is the rough average acreage among each of those lots?
Hang on just a minute and let me pull up the site plan.
I see the two at the bottom look a lot smaller on the, I guess they would be geographically on the west.
It looks like they're
southwest.
roughly about 20 to 30 acres apiece.
Got it.
One clarifying question. So in connection with your response to Commissioner McDaniel, the streams identified are perennials then?
Correct.
Thank you.
Good. No more questions? We're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and the last planning item with a public hearing involved is a public hearing on an ordinance amendment proposed by Planning and Development Services staff to amend Chapter 4 and 5 of the Unified Development Ordinance. And I'm going to not read all that stuff and let Kirk kind of go through what the UDO amendment does.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Again, this amendment would increase the maximum number of attached units allowed per building in the RM5 residential multifamily district. It would increase the maximum building height allowed in the RM8, RM12, and RM18 multifamily districts, and revise the threshold for which buffer yard standards are required. And I'll get into a little bit more detail on each of those aspects of the amendment. Just a little bit of background, this amendment is intended to reduce rezoning requests to higher density multifamily districts by allowing more design flexibility in the lower density districts. We've had several plans that have come to the planning board, either in the city or county jurisdiction in the last few years, where folks have had to ask for a more intense district, not so they could add more units, but so they could take advantage of things such as taller building heights or increased numbers of units that could be attached together in blocks, essentially, and things of that nature. So the purpose would enable multifamily developments to meet maximum zoning density of their current district while accommodating site constraints such as creeks and floodplains, steep slopes, etc. This amendment would increase the maximum number of attached units per building in the RM5 district from 4 to 6 units. And again, just I know there's a lot of alphabet soup here, as the chairman mentioned a few presentations ago. RM5 is 5 units to the acre multifamily development, so basically a comparable density to RS9 residential zoning. This amendment would increase the maximum height of 3 multifamily districts. The RM8, 8 units per acre district would go from 40 feet to 48 feet, which would accommodate a roughly 4-story building. The RM12 district could go from 45 feet to 60 feet of building height, which would roughly accommodate a 5-story building. And the RM18, 18 units to the acre multifamily district would go from 60 feet to 72 feet, and that could accommodate a 6-story building. The amendment does stipulate that new structures in the RM8, 12, and 18 districts with a height greater than 40 feet must be set back a minimum feet from adjacent property zone for single family. So staff tried to craft this with a trade-off to where extra height would be allowed, but there would be some setback required to get that extra height so that the single family homes that are usually going to be 1 or 2 stories in nature wouldn't be directly adjacent to 4, 5, or 6-story uses. Parking may be located within that 50-foot setback, provided it's outside of any required buffer yard. In summary, this amendment revises the buffer yard requirements from applying to multifamily and townhome developments of, excuse me, I shouldn't say summary on the top of that slide. This amendment revises the buffer yard requirements from applying to multifamily and townhome developments of 5 units or more to developments of greater than 1 acre in size. So again, this is just a little incentive to add flexibility on smaller sites where it's typically tougher to develop those when you usually have topography or other constraints anyway. So it adds a little bit to the window of sites that provision could apply to. And this is the actual summary slide. The amendment will right-size dimensional standards for multifamily districts to accommodate site constraints and reduce rezoning requests while maintaining compatibility for adjoining single-family homes. This amendment would allow greater ability to utilize existing multifamily sites. The Planning Board held a public hearing at its December 14th meeting. There were no speakers in opposition, and following the hearing, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend the approval to the Commissioners. City Council did adopt this at the February 19th meeting of the Council, and I'm glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Kurt?
This could possibly be helpful for affordable housing, couldn't it?
Absolutely, Commissioner Wisenhunt. Again, anything that could be done to increase development flexibility on existing zone sites or speculative future zoning is definitely something that could be used for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Bessie.
So you're in this case, you're already talking about RM sites that have a substantially more intense development pattern than adjoining single-family residential neighborhoods. Presently, there's a 50-foot setback required. This, among other things, would allow parking inside the 50-foot setback. How is that conducive to setting back intense uses from the adjoining single-family neighborhoods?
Well, basically, the setback right now depends on which district you're in. I'd have to look at the report to see what it is, but I know in some it can be as close as 20, 25 feet from the property line in an RM5 or RM8 district. And so again, this would basically be doubling that setback in some of those districts from what it is now. You can already have parking in those areas currently, so that provision isn't new. It was just the staff and the board's opinion that, as Commissioner Wisenhunt said, this might be a way to influence additional housing production or more affordable housing production by adding flexibility, but that 50-foot setback at least gets the building farther away from the single-family homes, and there would be a required buffer yard between that parking area and the single-family home to at least kind of screen the vehicles from the single-family home.
So if you've got multifamily with a 25-foot setback from the property line, you already allow parking in that 25-foot setback?
Correct.
The reduction of the size, well, sorry, not the reduction of the size, the transition to allowing these accommodations in lots of an acre or less. Do you have any idea how many are RM zoned lots there are of an acre in, as sort of patches of undeveloped property in existing neighborhoods?
Commissioner Bessie, I would say there is precious few sites like that exist currently. In fact, there's very few, probably under 2 or 3 acre sites of general use multifamily that exist in the community. The focus on this was, again, if someone wanted to find an infill site that was currently zoned single family and bring it forward to a multifamily rezoning, that would be one less constraint that would kind of limit their site design flexibility. And again, if you were to, example, look at an RM5 site currently, and you had the 5-unit limitation that's currently in the ordinance and the 1 acre limitation that's proposed, the outcome would be exactly the same. If you went up to an RM8 rezoning and you basically said that they needed an acre before the buffer yard could kick in, that would mean they could do 8 units without the buffer yard, whereas under the current ordinance, it would be 5. So we're not talking orders of huge magnitude, but it's just a little tweak that could maybe bring projects over that line and add more housing to the area.
Potentially, but it also has the effect of, in effect, promoting the non-buffer yard protected development of existing sites within established neighborhoods. Was that not identified as a concern, offsetting the affordable housing incentive?
That was certainly something that the board was cognizant of. I think in discussions that the board had, it was just felt that reducing some of the barriers to housing construction was their bigger concern.
And did they discuss at all the potential adverse impacts of eliminating any green space in urban heat island areas?
That was not something the board discussed.
I didn't think so. How would this interact with the cottage court exception?
So this is something that the cottage court, and forgive me, I don't have the exact ordinance standards in front of me, but certainly the cottage court standards would take precedence over anything in that provision. So I know that the cottage courts require a 15% internal open space courtyard. That would be required. I believe there is a perimeter buffer yard.
No.
I believe cottage court does have something, or a buffer yard where parking is adjacent. I think that's what it is. But that would take precedence over anything called out in this section.
So are you cognizant of the fact that the cottage court exception allows for setbacks of as little as 7 feet?
Correct. And Commissioner Bessie, if you want, I would be glad to go back and do some analysis of exactly how this language would affect each of the provisions in the cottage court, and we could bring that to you at your next briefing.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any additional questions for Kirk? Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kirk. Great job. All right, we have, I'll just quickly run through the other items that we're still finalizing for this agenda. There are 6 budget and finance items. You've got grant money, item 5, some grant dollars through Carolina Cross 100. You'll hear a little bit more about that for our well-being program. You've got a budget ordinance amendment that appropriates fund balance for prior year encumbrances. As we're wrapping up last year and getting that done, we need to take care of that. We have an appropriated fund balance generated from the countywide overlay fire tax district for the purchase of a new truck to serve the suppression units. We have an action that we're going to bring you to move some dollars from fund balance kind of in accordance with a replacement plan for ambulances that has really a fairly big impact on next year's budget. And so that's going to be kind of brought to you. Some of that's stuff that we did not get to in the winter work session. So we'll go ahead and bring it to you as an agenda item, see if you're okay with that. Item 9 is an amendment to the fiscal year 24 budget to appropriate some home and community care block grant funds to continue the administration of in-home aid services. And then you've got a budget ordinance amendment to appropriate funds from the National Association of County and City Health Officials. We'll dive into those really deeply next Thursday. One grant item, it's a resolution submitting an application to the United States Environmental Protection Agency for some air quality sensors for environmental protection, assistance and protection. There is one ARPA-funded item. It's a resolution approving an execution of an agreement with Greater Winston, Inc. to create a co-located workforce training system with the American Rescue Plan Act funds. We'd actually pulled that off this last agenda, and so we're going to present it to you in detail on Thursday. We have a large number of contracts. Some of them move some projects forward that are pretty important. Items 13 and 14 are just regular tech items for StarPoint Incorporated, a system for the social services. You've got the purchase of computing endpoints, basically computers, and that's part of our computer replacement program that we have every year. Item 15 is the contract for the purchase of one Type 3 ambulance that would spin up. If you obviously wouldn't take that up unless you approve the budget ordinance amendment to take care of that. You've got a resolution.
Can you clarify that, the difference between the 4 ambulances and this one Class 3 type ambulance?
So we're asking you to move.
On 8, you're moving money over.
Yeah, we're going to move money over, and then we found one that is ready to purchase now,
All right,
basically.
got it.
Yep.
Got it.
They, all part of how difficult it is to actually find replacement units these days. So item 16 is a license of app code and telecom software, basically the software that kind of runs the 911 communications center. An agreement with FMRT Group LLC for pre- and post-hire psychological medical services. Y'all have done that in the past, and so that's an update to that. There's a resolution approving an amendment to the agreement with Airmark Correctional Services for detention center on-site food services. That is a function you'll see next Thursday, but it's really a function of a higher inmate population than we had anticipated when we started this year out. So that's where that's coming from. Item 19 is a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement for the purchase of a Forts fold-out rigid tactical shelter for Forsyth County, and we'll learn more about that next Thursday. Item 20 is an ARPA matter. It's where the board had approved funds for the bipolar ionization equipment for county facilities. And so we've gotten that out for bids, and we'll bring that to you, and those are within budget. Item 21 is a resolution executing a second consolidated and restated lease agreement between Forsyth County and Signature Flight Support. This is one of the agreements over at the airport that actually require your approval because it exceeds 10 years. They can handle a lot of stuff under 10 years, but and this is a fairly complicated agreement that takes care of a few issues out at the airport, and you'll hear from Mark Davidson on that next Thursday. Also an airport item, item 22 is a resolution awarding a contract to Bar Construction for an EDA grant project. That project we received grant funds quite some time ago. It's for improvement to that 4001 facility where MRO Holdings operates out of, and so that's a important and good project. And then 23 is a temporary construction easement related to an access ramp for the Liberty Plaza building. It's going to make moving from the Liberty Plaza building to Caladium much easier, and so the owner of that facility is interested in that, and we've been able to pull that off. We've got some item 24 is property matters, so we're going to dispose of some personal property items, and so you'll see that. And then you have a whole bunch of appointments, and so those will close on?
Appointments close on March 11th at 5 p.m.
Okay, very good. So take a look at those. We'll make a special push to try to get those opportunities out there so we can get as many of those as we can filled. If Ed McNeil's watching this, make sure you do that.
Yeah, that's where I was going. Thank you.
Very good. All right.
Ed McNeil has pushed it out very hard.
Good, good.
Yes.
I saw it on Newsbreak.
Yes.
Fantastic.
It's on Newsbreak.
If it made Newsbreak, it must be out there. So, and then the last item, you got some tax refunds and then a fuel surcharge franchise report. And that is it, Mr. Chairman, except for closed session motion.
All righty. Will you stand adjourned? Oh, do the closed session.
Closed session motion. All right. Let me pull that up and I will do that. Need to ask the board to consider a motion to go into closed session to discuss two matters: to establish or instruct the public body staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the public body in negotiating the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease pursuant to provisions of North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A5. And a matter to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee pursuant to provisions of North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A6. Since there's no other business to come before the board at this meeting, following the closed session, the meeting will be adjourned.
We're done. Thank you.
All right.